Okay. So, hello everyone, and welcome to our Logic Technology Roundtable in cooperation with Rombit, where we will explore how they managed to go from a concept to product launch in only 3 months. My name is Gevorg Melikdjanjan, and I'm a product manager at Logic Technology. And at Logic, we help engineers to create great products and lower their development risk. And we do this with a wide variety of tools and hardware. Our guest for today is Evert Bulcke, VP of Product at Rombit, a company developing a safety wearable for the industrial market. You will have the opportunity to submit questions by typing them into the chat box. We will collect these questions and address them during our Q&A sessions at the end of today's talk. So this roundtable will focus on how the development of a product initially intended for a specific application was able to be converted to work for different applications using agile processes and a well thought out design. When the COVID-19 pandemic broke out, Rombit immediately altered their roadmap. They succeeded in creating a wearable in no time with the purpose of avoiding COVID contaminations in the workplace. So welcome, Evert. Thank you for joining us for this talk. So let's start off with the first question. Can you tell us something about the original product and for what purpose it was developed?
Yeah, sure. And thank you, Gevorg, for that nice introduction. Hello, everyone. Very happy to talk to you and very open to questions and suggestions later on, as Gevorg suggested. Now, what I will talk about in the next few minutes is this product, the product that you see on the screen. I'm holding up right now. I'm also wearing one. Is a wearable device, an industrial wearable device. Obviously, everybody knows an Apple Watch or a Samsung smartwatch. But what we have been doing for well over 3 years right now within Rombit with the RomWear project is a industrial rugged wearable without a screen, headless as we call it, simple interactions through haptics, so that's vibrations and LED signals, to basically signal whenever somebody is in danger. And we started developing years ago. It was intended as a safety bracelet, as you can see on the screen right now, for personal safety, for man-down situations, evacuation management, certification using NFC or ultra-wideband, collision warning. That's, I think, the key of what we have been doing up until last year, before COVID. Basically protecting people in logistics environments, port environments, and warehousing from getting run over. Obviously, that's a very big problem across industries. By the way, whenever you have a collision between a man and a machine, that's a metaphor or a euphemism for something that is really serious. Usually, there are very serious consequences there. So, collision warning is at the core of our product technology for 3 years now. What we offered is a combination of safety applications and a combination of tools. Not only the wearable device, we're not hardware vendors, we're solution vendors. We have a wearable device for workers, for the connected worker, as they call it. We have a range of anchors that you put on a vehicle, for instance, or some kind of heavy equipment. And we have a real-time monitoring and analytics platform. So we're very much about a solution, a focused solution, replacing a lot of other different types of sensors and legacy technology. So all in one and plug and play for us are two very important functionalities.
Okay, so from what need was the initial wearable designed?
Well, I've touched upon that just now, but I think it's also very important to really have that business case very crisp. For instance, in the Port of Antwerp in 2019, those are our older figures. The Port of Antwerp, which is our home port, Rombit is based in Antwerp in Belgium. There were 2 casualties, 311 serious accidents, and almost over 30,000 working days lost due to these kinds of accidents and hazards that I've just talked about. Collisions between man and machine, overhanging weights that aren't secured properly. We're also talking about lone worker situations, people that are at night in those logistic terminal environments don't have the right means to signal whenever something's wrong. So we have man-down, automatic fall detection functionalities and stuff like that. So this is definitely the use case we've been targeting for a few years right now.
So what made you decide to make adjustments and further develop the Romware device?
Well, a safety device for industrial environments still is very relevant, by the way, especially today. But we launched the product in March of last year, and obviously that wasn't very strategically timed, because March was also the start of the first lockdowns here in Belgium. We started marketing the product for object notification, as you can see on the screen right now, which is basically two-way ranging between a wearable device and a vehicle for collision avoidance. And we tweaked that functionality to become a coronavirus functionality, a COVID protection functionality. Because if you can safeguard the distance between vehicle and the person, you can also safeguard the distance between two people individually. So our patented ultra-wideband technology was ideally suited to provide a very stable solution for social distancing, for safeguarding the 1.5 meters in Europe or 1.8 meters, 6 feet in the US of distance between workers on the work floor. Furthermore, we have a modem inside that device. There's a nano SIM card inside. So we can immediately signal those contact events, those social distancing events, for contact tracing purposes later on. This way, we could tweak the existing ultra-wideband functionality and the existing LTE functionality towards a contact tracing solution that helped our customers, and there were many customers from the start, to keep their factories open. Because you could see Evert had come into contact with a colleague over there, but all the other colleagues were virtually safe because there were no contact events between us, if you know what I mean. So that's very important. Social distancing, contact tracing. We tweaked that functionality in a matter of weeks, and I think that's a core of today's talk. That we were able to pivot our complete value proposition, our complete product setup in a matter of weeks to counter that extremely new pandemic and COVID functionality. So that's I think in a nutshell what we did in March last year.
Okay, so just to have a better understanding of what we see here in the forklift, so I'm guessing that's where the anchor is in your initial product, and here an anchor is not needed anymore?
No.
Okay.
No. So in the next slide, as you can see, the anchor on the right-hand side on the vehicle has been replaced by another wearable device. So this is completely standalone. We don't need any kind of supporting infrastructure. It works out of the box. That's a concept that's really important for us. It works out of the box, and it will alarm you whenever or alert you whenever somebody's too close. Again, through haptics, vibration signals, and bright LEDs, so light signals. We deliberately steered away from noise because in production environments, or you can't hear the signal, or it's perceived to be very obnoxious. So we quickly saw that in production environments, our customers said, we can't have noise. You can't have beeping all the time because everybody would be driven crazy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So how did you approach the development at the time? So when it comes to concept specifications, did you take into account any safety standards, development standards?
Yeah, certainly. And without getting too technical, I think obviously we knew very well what ultra-wideband, so that communication technology, that distancing technology was able to do. We knew what safety standards were. We knew how to position, which is basically an IoT product in a safety environment. So this homework that was already done in 2019, we could immediately take forward in this concept. But what we didn't know is we didn't have any clue about the market. The way we tackle this is homework. And I think that's really important, especially from a technology player like us and other technology players. The product is not about the technology you use or the engineering quality. Obviously, both the audience here and ourselves, we're kind of geeks. we love the technology, but the customer couldn't care less about technology. So they're looking for a solution for a specific problem. And this solution can be found through market research. And I think that's really important to make the gap between the engineering team and the market research as small as possible. So what we did in March last year is we went to the WHO website. We saw what was happening already in Asia and Australia. Here in Belgium and in the Netherlands, there wasn't even talks about social distancing yet. The concept wasn't even introduced, but we knew what social distancing was from looking at Asia. So we quickly tweaked our solution towards this concept. The one thing I would really like to make clear is if you're tackling a health and safety market, please be aware of everything that has to do with health and safety regulation. And secondly, if you're tackling the health and safety market, please do your homework. Look into the relevant fields of expertise. And those fields of expertise aren't Gartner or whatever IT website there is, but is very much something that has to do, for instance, with WHO or business requirements.
So which adjustments were needed in order to achieve the current functionalities?
Well, slight adjustments, yeah. So as you can see today in our two wearable products, the Rombit 1 is the premium one, the Rombit Radius is the basic one. We use ultra-wideband two-way ranging. This brings about local vibration alerts and LED signals. I've talked about that earlier. What we did is we optimized those two-way ranging algorithms to improve scalability. That means that instead of making a contact with a forklift once every few seconds, we were constantly looking for contacts. We were constantly looking for other people, because obviously if you're in the workplace, you're going to have a lot of more contact with other colleagues rather than equipment driving by. So we had to optimize that. Secondly, we also optimized the two-way ranging algorithms for battery consumption. Because again, if you're constantly measuring distances, if you're constantly communicating, the battery is going to drain too fast. So if you're in a very, very small form factor like this one, there can't be a big battery inside. So you really need to optimize all those things. So that's the one thing we did.
Okay, so you basically kind of answered my next question. What were your biggest challenges you encountered during the short period of time you had for the further development, and how did you tackle them? So you already mentioned the battery consumption.
Yeah, but I think that's really important, and thank you for stating the question again. I think optimizing battery consumption is the key to providing a standalone IoT device. Whenever you do something, doesn't really matter whether it's communicating, whether it's ranging, whether it's compute power, you're gonna drain the battery. And I think that introducing very cool functionalities is one thing, but in the back end, you really need to make sure that you know everything about battery optimization. So I think that's a really crucial concept. If there's anybody in the audience that knows something about IoT or has real ambitions in developing an IoT device, battery is so important. So yeah, it's actually a good question.
So during the further development of your product, you came in contact with Logic Technology. How did this come about?
We have been in contact with Logic Technology for a few years now. We had they were already a supplier of development tools and embedded software, and proactively, Logic even advised us to use a specific development environment for our ARM microcontroller. So there was already a very cool relationship between us, not just a vendor-customer relationship, but also a proactive relationship where Logic advised us to implement certain tools in order for us to speed up. Because being a startup, being agile in the market, it's really important that you gain speed and that you provide quality in your first releases. During the further development, we ran into two problems. So we had to develop parallel quickly and temporarily needed, and we temporarily needed additional development licenses. What I want to say with that is we didn't steer away from our current safety business. We were still marketing our protect and alert functionality, which was all about the forklifts and the man down and the lone worker. But suddenly we had a second project there. So we need to double our capacity. And also in this respect, Logic supported us with additional development licenses. So that was a really cool feat for us, again, to make that bridge in a couple of weeks and months. So Logic then ensured that we could temporarily use additional licenses for this development. And this was really important for the success of the social distancing application and for the risk that we were taking at the moment. We were also able to partly solve the problem of battery consumption that I've just touched upon by using optimized compiler settings. So this sounds really basic, but in practice, it turns out to be quite difficult to get a compiler to generate efficient code that actually limits the CPU, so the computing cycles. We were able to make efficient use of cache and therefore reduce power consumption, again with the help from Logic. Overall, it's just nice to work with a partner, and especially in these crucial times where you do a pivot and this costs a lot of money. It's nice to work with a partner who understands embedded developments and who can quickly switch to available standard solutions and who can give their expertise and experience and pass it through our engineering and development teams.
Okay, thank you. The feeling is mutual. So Rombit consists of a group of passionate developers who are very accessible, and your enthusiasm to quickly find a solution to the social distancing problem gave us an extra drive to help. So let's go to the next question. So were you able to save time by making strategic choices in the development phase?
Yeah, sure. 80% of our existing protect collision avoiding solutions could be reused in the COVID application. We deliberately didn't do anything other than distancing and contact tracing because we were very aware that making the bridge between worker safety and contact tracing wasn't that far of a stretch, if you know what I mean. We could have also looked into biometrics, for instance, and quickly introduced in this wearable device a temperature sensor or a body humidity sensor. There were a lot of questions about that, but we didn't do that because we knew that it would take months again that we didn't have to develop and market that solution. So it's important, I think, to make that strategic choice to pivot, but don't pivot too hard whenever the timing is really strict. Furthermore, the application of an agile development methodology was also a crucial factor to successfully implement this. Because if you're pivoting on March 1st, 2020, you have done your homework. I've talked about the WHO documentation and stuff like that, but you're really very new in the market. So you can't just do waterfall. You should definitely use an agile development approach to tackle on a weekly basis, on a sprint basis, new issues, new problems, and release as soon as possible. And finally, the strategic choice to build up deep in-house knowledge around ultra-wideband. And we made that choice already in 2018 was really a good choice. And it has made us possible to tackle the challenges around scalability and battery consumption quickly and efficiently. And we now also see that the big players like Apple in their iPhone 11, also Samsung and a couple of others, are also looking to into ultra wideband as a replacement for Bluetooth and other low power limited communication technologies. So I think that bit of doing ultra wideband really is starting to pay off.
Okay, so which useful insights did this experience of developing the product provide that you would like to share with our listeners?
First of all, again, without jumping into the technology, a very simple observation. Always try to position your product as a solution for a major contemporary challenge. Your solution should always be very relevant to the cause at today. Again, we're talking about pandemic all the time the past year. Whenever, for instance, there's a very big safety breach in the port environment, and I'm talking about port security, I'm also talking about the drug problem. I'm not sure if there are people aware of the situation in the port of Rotterdam, in the port of Antwerp. There are a lot of issues with drugs and narcotics coming into these very, very big port environments. Whenever these kinds of things are in the news, make sure your solution, your technology is some kind of an answer to that, because it makes your marketing and your go-to-market so easy. You shouldn't steer away from what you were doing yesterday, but you should always try to find that point of contact, that point of interest that is really relevant at that time. Secondly, product management is not the same as packaging technology. Product management isn't about, oh, look how cool our technology is. It must be important for this and this sector. I still see a lot of startups and aspiring engineers looking towards cool technology and then assuming that cool technology should be relevant for a lot of sectors. It's not about that. It doesn't work like that. Your ultimate target audience is an end user, and they don't care about technology. They basically just want their life to be easier. We're about worker wearables. This shouldn't intrude their personal space. This shouldn't be something that is a hassle in wearing. I'm making a quick example. We're working on connected worker applications. I'm not sure if you're aware of that term, but connected worker is very big if you Google it. Lots of marketing talk there about connecting one sensor to another one. And it's very nice to put in your slides, but employees in these port and logistics environments, they, at the end of the day, don't like to walk around like a Christmas tree with a sensor for this here, and a sensor for that there, and a sensor for that there. They want simplicity. They want all in one. That's not really easy to do in terms of technology, but that's the mindset of somebody in that place. And last but not least, using the knowledge tools of a party such as Logic in the field of development tools, embedded software, and test and verification tools helps accelerate our own innovations. Again, we can focus on the business case, on our core technology, but the how do you manage your day-to-day business? How do you enable your day-to-day development? That's really important to have a good partner by your side with the right tools at the right moment.
Thank you very much, Evert, for this interesting presentation. I'm sure it has provided some useful insights for the people attending. So now let's check if we have some questions in the chat box.
Yes, actually, we do have some questions from some listeners. One is regarding the development team. Evert, can you tell a little bit about the size of the team and who was involved?
Good question. We started with a 5-man team in 2018. Basically a CTO profile. Somebody was really aware of the backend and to build the platform. And then we quickly saw that firmware development is a completely different thing than than software and backend and front end development, obviously. So we quickly invested in that firmware expertise. Now the team is 15, 16 people, working in various roles, not only development and engineering, but also, again, product management, mechanical design as well, because we're making tangible stuff. So I think there's a lot of expertise in the team, and you should be aware of all fields in development, back end, front end, but especially firmware, a little bit of hardware. Although we look towards partners for that hardware design and hardware development, and then more and more today we also see with thousands of these devices in the field, we also see the need for data and analytics, obviously, maybe even AI kind of tools, and also personnel looking towards providing insights to our customers and not just safety solutions.
Okay, thank you. Then on a completely different note, because there was a question, since this product was developed so quickly, how did you maintain your standards of quality?
Good question. I have to say it was and still is a risk. Pivoting and marketing something in a really quick cycle is a big risk. I would like to revert to that strategic choices that I've mentioned 3 or 4 minutes ago. We quickly decided that we would use the same form factor. So the hardware, the enclosure, virtually all of the PCB was already designed and already being tested. So I think that's a very important thing. Just use what you have and try to tweak it towards the ideal solution. And I think in this case, good is better than best, if you know what I mean, or good is better than perfection. I think it's a solid choice to start where you are comfortable with and then quickly pivot. In providing quality, we brought in partners. We have EMS partners, so that they develop the hardware, they produce the hardware, and we quickly invested also in additional QA checks in terms of hardware, in terms of the firmware behavior, such that everything that exited the factory was really tested through and through, and could be released immediately to the customer. Because when you release a new product, it's not a shame of having some degree of bugs or fallout, but we couldn't really do that because our brand name was so important to us, and we weren't prepared to be mentioned in the same name as a few others that said, okay, nice try, but it's 80% not exactly what we need. So for us, again, this QA check was really important. But there's always a bit of luck there. If we would have a really big issue with our EMS, with the electronic manufacturing services provider, we would have definitely stalled a few weeks or months and perhaps missed the market like that. That's always possible. So yeah, it's taking a risk and doing everything to mitigate that risk in a risk matrix. But at the end of the day, if you want speed, you're going to have to take a few harsh decisions.
Well, now that we've talked a lot about the development of the product, there's actually a question that's very interesting, is how was this, and maybe that's the final question looking at the time as well, but how did your prospects and customers receive this product? How was it received in the market? I think two quick answers. On the one hand, and this was a sigh of relief, again, referring to that QA process that we just mentioned, our ultra-wideband firmware algorithms really worked well. So that was good. You could stand in one room with 6 people, with 16 people, and all the devices would still interact and provide a solid social distancing alert
and then a contact tracing alert through the platform. That was really important for us. Secondly, we saw that the wearable form factor, the bracelet form factor that I'm wearing right now, wasn't the form factor of choice for a lot of other people. So we saw that our customers were actually detaching the tag, which is this one, from the wristband, and then putting it in their pocket over here, or attaching it somewhere on their vest over here. And we tuned our applications, so our mechanical design and our straps towards these use cases. So we saw that the ultra-wideband functionality was perfect, but the form factor was not that perfect for a lot of customers. So we tried to tweak in the next couple of weeks and months to really match their expectations.
Okay. Thank you, Evert. I think those were all our questions. So if you happen to have any other questions after this session or want to receive more information, you can contact us via the Embedded World platform or have a look at our website. Once again, thank you, Evert, and all the participants for their attendance. Enjoy the rest of Embedded World and hope to speak to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Best of luck.